Hello and welcome. It is Sunday, it is afternoon, and it is October, and that means Preptober. Preptober, Preptober.
Dun dun
Uh,
dun.
so I was at a convention in Rockville, Maryland this weekend, and I got to bed at 4 a.m. and I am awake and here. Yay. And with me, I have the one, the only Doc Coleman. Say hi to the nice people.
Hello, nice people.
So what are you going to be working on today?
I am going to be continuing to copy notes from my editor into the Kindred of Kali manuscript. I need to get those all nicely moved over so that I can dig in and start doing some serious edits. So hopefully sometime soon I can start digging in the edits, because the longer I leave it, the more it's going to look like my nano is going to turn into a nano Edmo.
I've done Camp Nano Edmos.
Yeah. But I still want to be able to get this book out before Christmas. So I'm running out of time. I'm running out of procrastinate time. I've got to start doing the work.
Sorry. Yawn overtook me. So because I still haven't heard back from all my beta readers and it is October, I'm super excited to really dive into the planning for my suburban fantasy that I am setting here in Manassas. So because, we've seen the urban fantasies and, we've seen, I guess the rural stuff ends up being horror more often. But I think suburbia gets a bad rap. And I attended a panel in December at DisCon where they talked about how in urban fantasy, the setting is one of the characters almost. And so I think I really want to explore, especially in the local area, suburbia is the transition. A generation ago, it was farmland. So I really need to explore what sort of supernatural elements have been disturbed by the switchover. And I don't know that I really want to delve into Civil War blood spilled stuff, but it might end up happening because I can't ignore the history of my town, So,
that's an interesting look at things. Just the
yeah.
idea of I'm sorry if I'm going to riff here for a second, but
Sure.
urban fantasy is usually about the urban spirits that arise with everything, and a lot of the rural fantasy is about dark things that have been there for centuries and don't want to be disturbed.
I mean, we're near the Appalachians that are mountains that are older than bones. They existed before bones were a thing on our planet, back when they were new and young and taller than, the Swiss mountains, the Alps.
Yeah, but that's kind of an interesting thought, that you've got an area that has, because of the battlefields, you've got like tainted blood magic and that you don't want to touch, but you've got a completely different vibe growing up that usually gets overlooked because people think suburbia is boring.
And it's not. I grew up in a small town and, urban living isn't for me. I'm okay with things within walking distance, but I like a little elbow room, I think. But I also enjoy not having to drive 45 minutes to the nearest town if I want to go see the movies.
Yeah.
And having more than one option for takeout and more than one option for a grocery store in case they're out of something.
Yeah.
So suburbia gets a bad rap, and I think it needs to be in fiction that isn't pointing out the whole tiki-taki boxes where it looks the same and fresh on the outside, but inside everybody's struggle is different, and it mostly involves vodka and what's the 1950s chill out Xanax, Valium.
I don't remember, but yeah, Valium definitely has had its day.
Yeah. So that's, you get a lot of Stepford wives if you have anything in a sort of suburbia setting a lot. Although technically I think Buffy was suburbia.
Yeah, pretty much.
So it's not like it hasn't been explored, but I think it gets a short end of the stick, and I want to explore it. And I think A, I know the area, and B, I kind of want to show maybe a little more of the government contractor life, which is normal here.
Just thinking about it, it's like,
And that we're not all corporate drones.
Buffy was kind of suburbia, but oh, by the way, the suburb was built on top of a hellmouth. So
right. And I like to deal with people that aren't chosen but choose to step up. And I want to explore a found family kind of vibe. But I really need to explore her emotional journey as she goes through. And while obviously I want to stand alone, urban fantasy, I want to thread some seeds in case, I decide to turn it into a series, because urban fantasy is so often serialized.
right.
And so yeah, I'm super excited about trying to figure out what her internal and her external journey is going to look like. I've done some brainstorming on what sort of creatures I want to have. I don't want to have the normal. I'm going to pop Sako in, but keep talking.
I was waiting for you to stop so I could pop Sako in.
Right.
Hey, Sako.
So I figured out who her roommates are going to be. And I've figured out, I've got a lot of ideas of what sort of creatures. I want creatures that feel familiar, but are not normal, because I don't want vampires and shapeshifters. I think that's overdone. But, maybe I do want a sexy supernatural, because those seem to be enjoyable. So I'm just really working through what I can do with this, which is anything I bleep well please.
Yeah, I was just thinking it's kind of interesting because if I can get my edits done in October, and actually right during November, I'm going to go back to my YA fantasy, which is about a girl who lives with her dad on a military base, but it's a fairy story.
Nice.
And she ends up, tripping and falling and landing in Underhill, and has to find her way back.
As one does. Well, welcome, Sako. Did you want to say? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Okay. No, it's just an interesting thread between your story and one of mine potentially on deck.
Nice.
But Sako, tell us what you're going to be doing.
I am. So I have oh, hold on. That was my laundry.
Your laundry's falling. Okay.
Literally, her laundry literally cold. Okay, so
my laundry literally.
I'm sleep deprived and a little punchy, so
I can tell. I have a collection of. Oh, it still thinks I'm logged in as Witch of Tilbiteg, which is dumb. I have a collection of like Preptober booklets that kind of like help you kind of figure out your story, before you start writing. So I think I'm gonna like at least spend the first sprint kind of like going through those and seeing if any of the ones I have would work. And I'm being messaged to go and do a facial. So that's laundry, facial, and also prep my book. That is what I will do this coming sprint.
Okay. So what about people tuning in? Are y'all working on Preptober? Are you working on projects? What are you working on today? Let us know. I've been super excited about making progress on my space fantasy, but this suburban fantasy has been filtering in my head since January, and I keep circling back to it. I'm like, but I gotta wait until I have a chunk of time, and November is going to be it, and I'm super excited to see what happens with it. And but I don't know where it's going yet, and I really need to wrap my head around it. So
yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too.
Yeah. So Andy is here and hoped I had fun at Capclave, which I did. It's a great local con, and hopefully the numbers will get back up to pre-pandemic levels. It was tiny.
So was this your first Capclave?
It was. I barconned for about 4 hours last year because I was getting stir crazy on a Friday night. And I bounced up and just chatted with some people in the lobby. But this was, in fact, my first Capclave. So, and Ward says hi, hello. And she is house cleaning and listening to the book she needs to edit. Preptober, yes, started new.
Well, and now's a good time to start.
I have Inktober to contend with as well. So,
yeah.
And then juggling my life on top of that. So, this is going to be a buffer.
Fun month. Hopefully you get some sleep. So Don Quiddy asks, doesn't know what Preptober is. Otherwise, they're writing, plotting, researching, and thinking in no particular order. Preptober is, if you're familiar with NaNoWriMo, which is National Novel Writing Month, which is in November. That's the pledge to write 50,000 words in 30 days, and which is about a 200-page book. It's a little short for science fiction and fantasy, which is what I play in.
But it's a good start.
But it's a great start. And Preptober is if you want to do any pre-planning. Some people write by the seat of their pants and just sit down and go. Some people, want to play with the world building and maybe the characters, like drawing them or creating like character sheets for them or what have you. And some people, want to sit down and outline the entire thing and write 30 pages of outlining. And I'm kind of in the middle. I like really high level bullet points and a direction to go, and I'm good. Usually. But so Preptober is just prepping in October. So M. Ward says, mine is turning into Edit-tober, and I want to get it over Tober.
Yeah, I am with you there, MM.
Yeah. So I was hoping to have feedback from my beta readers, but if I get it this month for my space fantasy, I still don't know if I could get it done in a little less than a month.
Look at
2 to 3 weeks. Like edits, yes, I could probably do a first pass. I don't think I could do more, like really dive into the revisions though.
You can save that for December, and that'll be a nice palate cleanser after you've wiped out a completely new book in November, right?
So I am, I've never met a commitment I didn't want, but I have learned not to do anything in December. I will just disappoint myself.
Fine, January then.
So, yeah. So I can do November, but only if I get December off. Is basically how it works. And sometimes it drags into January, but that may have been because of family crises and stuff this year that made it more so than normal.
So December is more like Baktember, where it's all about the Christmas cookies and the parties.
And about 30 pounds of fudge.
Yeah. That's right. You're the fudge girl, not the baking girl. Okay.
Right. But I also will be having a roommate situation happening, so I'm not sure how that's going to impact my productivity. So that's just one of the things I need to put out there. Next week, I might have them here, so I'm looking into maybe a headphone, or they just get to listen to me talk, or I'll set up in a different room. We'll see what works. So it might be switched up a little bit in the next couple sessions until I find a rhythm that works for me. So, but it's a friend of mine. I'm super excited to hang out with them, and I hope it turns into a really healthy situation for both of us. So popping to the comments, Andy says he has to catch up on work he should have been doing during the plague lost month of September. He just finished a flash fic and now has short stories to crank out. Oh,
I could just see somebody writing a story about the pandemic, calling it just plague lost.
The joy of not being published is I don't have any deadlines. They're all internal and not externally defined deadlines. So I understand that's a lot of work, and you do great stuff. So I hope you maybe not catch up, but tread water okay, and get to a good place, a good balance, so you're not, feeling like you're sinking below the waves. So, oh, okay. Well, maybe we should sprint.
That might help.
What? That's just silliness. So, okay, I am going to share my screen. I'm going to share my audio. I'm going to share my Chrome tab. And let's go ahead and get started in 3, 2, 1, boom. Meow meow. right. They're talking about you. Yeah. And we're back.
At least 2/3 of us are.
Well, somebody needed some playtime, so I try not to be a cruel and heartless, unloving kitty mama. Sometimes I fail, but it's never my intent. But as we all know, intent is not magical, and what you do matters. But intent should be a contributing factor.
Yep.
If you do something bad on purpose, that's bad. If you do something bad on accident, that's troublesome, but we can work with you. If you do something and there's no other options. You either do it on purpose or by accident. But yeah.
And a wild Sako appears.
Did you get a facial?
I got a facial, and I've got a hair mask in, and I did a couple loads of laundry.
And I see that it is
Fort
time.
It is.
Which months are Pillow Fort? I know October and November.
December.
Okay.
February.
Gotcha.
But not January.
Not Jan. Usually, so the rule is that I can't leave it up long enough to gather dust.
Okay.
That is the rule. So it will probably be down for Halloween. And then I might put it back up for NaNoWriMo.
Depending.
So I'm not bothering Greg while I'm writing and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So I envy you for being able to do laundry because well, we can wash laundry, we just can't dry it anymore because
dryer go tits up?
Oh no, the dryer still works just fine. We went and cleaned out the dryer vent and
found an animal?
No. We went to try to clean out the part
vent
that goes from the ceiling of our utility room up into our attic because it doesn't actually go all the way to the roof. But we ran into a blockage, and it's either it makes a sharp bend and then straightens back up, but the tools we have can't navigate that bend. So, we're gonna see about ordering a camera snake so we can get a look up in there, and we may end up seeing as we've never had a chimney sweep go and clean out the vent in the 30 years we've been in this house. We're probably going to hire a professional one to make sure it really is cleaned properly. But
I just did that recently. Yeah, we do it once every 2 years or so. We decided to clean out the vents.
I spent a ridiculous amount of money this week getting a new HVAC unit and a new furnace and a new split AC for the bonus room because it has no ductwork. So that was separate and an additional cost because fixing it would have been somewhere between a third and half the cost with no guarantee it would work tomorrow because it's all 15 to 20 years old and the warranty is only 10 years. So that was a surprisingly expensive week. But they had it in stock and were able to schedule installation the next day.
That is amazing.
So very expensive, but it's on right now blowing heat. And the new one, doesn't have frayed wires on the outside of my house. There's no mice living in the junction box and is not actually leaking gas like my old furnace was apparently. And they found that on the split unit that the leak was in the unit and not in the wall. So that was good.
Good.
Yeah. So, and they checked the pressure on everything and we're good to go. The first one took not 8 hours, but 12, partially because they had to convert the 220 down to a 120 power voltage. So there's like a breaker shift box. And partially because the breakers were poorly labeled, so they were worried they were missing something. And also the intake and the exhaust are on opposite sides, so he had to do some PVC crisscross on the outside. Yeah.
So did either of your units actually fail, or were they just underperforming?
You were at my house for my last get together. Do you remember how the split unit in the sunroom was not actually cold?
I actually remember being fairly comfortable when I came inside, but that may be because I spent some time sitting outside, and when there wasn't a breeze, it was beastly hot. So
yeah. So there were fans going last time I had people over, and it just wasn't keeping up. And I think I mentioned I'm getting a roommate. She's going to be working out of that room. I'm like, gotta get that fixed before she moves in.
Gotcha.
While they're at it, I know from when I got the window added that the wires and stuff attached to the outside HVAC were looking pretty questionable. Dry rotted like insulation around it, fraying wires. It was not a comfortable looking situation. So I was like, let's have that checked out while they're here and not have a second call. My previous house had its furnace die in the middle of January at 2 a.m. and it iced over. And we could hear the shrieking echoing through 3 stories of ductwork.
Oh, lovely.
And when we went to open the furnace door, there were scorch marks. And January, during like an ice snow event, is peak time. And they charge peak prices for installation then. So I thought on a gorgeous fall day with it in stock and not peak season was probably the right time, even if my finances are going to be hurting for a little bit.
Yeah, that's you pretty much hit it just right. When we had to replace our furnace and our heat pump, it had died at the beginning of June.
Oof. Yeah.
And we basically had to get a portable AC so we could sleep in the bedroom and wait for, I think it was September before we could actually get it.
Oh my gosh. That's horrid. Absolutely atrocious. If you're tired of spending out.
Jesus Christ.
They also said their suppliers let them know that the prices will be going up at the end of the month. And they did talk me into the upgraded unit because it will not be in the lower grade unit will not be in code in 2 months. And I was like, well, this way I'll be able to get parts. It's better rated, whatever. We'll go with it. So let me pop in the comments real quick.
Okay.
Eva, hello and welcome. Welcome, Debbie. Good to see you. Catechist did indeed swing by. No ferrets, just nope. Catechist. Did somebody else have a ferret?
Yeah. I'm not sure if that was a guess as to what might be stuck in my vent as a ferret.
Gotcha. With a bow tie and top hat, the best way for events. Jacob swung by. Hello, King Red Spy Red X. I'm glad you're enjoying Thunderdome. Andy says he has been reminded he needs to get the gas furnace place repair folk in. HVAC, they are pricey. So thank you for sympathizing. It's been a fun week. So Andy says, my HVAC guys on seeing the old system, did they not want this to work? Who did this? I had noises like that coming from my furnace room. It was maybe not the most reassuring thing. They're like, why did they ever? And MM Ward said, but yay for getting a new one so quickly. Did you hear the compliment the HVAC guys told me?
No.
They were in the furnace room, like where the air intake is. That is also my laundry room. That is also where the kitty litter is kept and the drain that Catechist has occasionally adopted. And they told me that my house smelled so fresh and nice. And so often when they go to houses where people have cats, it can be overwhelming after an hour. But they were like, how do you keep it so fresh smelling? And I was like, you're in the room where the litter lives and asking that. So
Yeah.
Keys in the drain and it sits there for a while.
No. I know what the smell is now. I get a 2-gallon pitcher and I pour it through to flush.
Yes.
But now that AC season is not so high, it's not draining condensation so much. So Catechus hasn't done it, knock on wood, in a little bit.
He feels less of a need to anoint.
Right, exactly. So Jen writes, romance is here. Hello, Jen. This is the first day of Preptober, so if any of the new people here are working on anything for Preptober, let us know in the comments. If you're working on another project, let us know what you're working on. We want to cheer on your successes and shake our fists at the things that get in your way. I'm really good at shaking my fist. So, how was your sprint? Did I ask y'all how y'all's sprint was? Did we just start talking about HVACs?
We just started talking about HVACs.
Oh, I think we started with cats and spiraled out from there.
Spiraled out from there. Okay.
So how was your sprint? Let's start with Sako.
I got a facial, which I'm still peeling off parts of the mask. And I'll probably take a shower next sprint. And
right, your mask.
Yeah, I did a mask. Nice. And I have a hair mask in, and I'm also doing laundry, and I'm also doing Preptober stuff.
Yay.
So hopefully there are more Preptober stuff happening.
Yeah.
here pretty soon.
Right. So, okay, Doc, how was your sprint?
So I copied in notes from a full scene. This is a 3-scene chapter, so I figure I'm a third of the way done. Actually, it's probably a little bit more than that, but
nice.
Getting some useful hints.
Yay. I finished reading a Patreon story from Sean and McGuire because I checked my email, and I put in a couple notes that I'd taken while at the convention. Sometimes when you're in a panel, somebody will say something that'll trigger a thought for a panel, for a story you're working on. And so I got those notes into my story notes. And then Catechus told me that it was playtime and that he has been severely neglected. And I agreed with him. So we went to go play with his crinkle tombstone. It's about this big. It crinkles and it has catnip in it. And it's a little tombstone. Excellent. And I got that and a crinkle spider that is black and round, and it has like orange ribbon for legs. So
adorable.
Yeah, Tarjay hit it off, and Catechus gets bored with old toys. So I used to think, oh, you're spoiling your cat. He has enough toys. No, animals get bored with toys just like toddlers and adults.
Our cats,
toddlers are animals.
Like the Nobu specifically will make a toy out of anything, like anything.
Oh yeah.
So ordering toys has proved fruitless because
part of my problem is
what
Catechus. Okay.
Like a box or a hair tie or a twist.
Catechus adores twist ties and hair ties, and he has vomited one up before, and I worry about them getting stuck in his intestines, and I don't want him swallowing metal. What Catechus chooses as his own toys, unless we're playing with like a wooden chopstick and I'm playing with it in front of him, I will throw random stuff. But what he chooses is cables and elastic and things I don't want him to chew on. So by giving him things that are his, that he's allowed to play with.
That's what we try to do. Yeah.
I know once upon a time before my wife's lactose intolerance reared its ugly head, we would buy gallons of milk and they would have these pull rings around the top to unseal it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And we give those to the cat, and they love chasing them around. Or sometimes when the gallon was finished, just the actual top off of the milk jar.
Oh yeah, yeah. Maybe I should look into that because growing up, we always used the milk ring for chase for our cats. But I'm okay with plastics that will break up. I'm not okay with metal that might poke through or elastic that can get tangled and stretched and weird stuff. So my sister had a cat try to swallow the ribbon from a birthday balloon and end up needing surgery. So for anything that starts getting string-like, I get a little anxious because it wasn't fun for the cat and it wasn't fun for their wallet.
Yeah.
So
the other thing that we used to give the cats as toys when I was a kid were ping pong balls. This actually worked great in the kitchen because of the linoleum tile. You just throw a ping pong ball and the cat goes crazy trying to catch it. They bounce nice, they make a good sound, and they're cheap.
Yeah.
And they're usually too large for a cat to like get a fang onto, so they don't tend to chew them up. They just chase them around.
I've got a few things that size, but they're like jingle. They have something in them that jingles or whatever, or sometimes they have a feather attached or whatever. So I just try to remember to rotate, and he can tell I'm rotating because if he drags a toy into the bedroom, like to be like, "Mommy, wake up and play with me," it's something that hasn't been in the rotation for a while that I pulled out the day before.
Okay.
So he likes novelty. So I try to rotate. And I only bring out the laser pointer in rare occasions.
Mr. Dot.
Right. So, popping into the comments, Andy got 344 words and only has one more sprint before dinner. So we might get to it soon. Jen says, I have one cat that's obsessed with those little spring toys. All day long, they're flying around the house. He will get super excited with something for about 3 days, maybe 2 weeks. And then, like, I had a thing on a wire that went in circles, and he would bat at it, and he loved it, and he'd dive at it. And after 2 weeks, he was like, okay, that thing again. So, yeah. Eva said, I way missed the end of that sprint, but I got some words in. So, she put us on mute. So, bottle caps for cat toys. Yeah, their cat doesn't consume the things, but the dog. Ping pong balls for the kitties and softballs for the Dane Roddy puppy. Oh, I need more pictures of your puppy. Is there a limit to the number of puppy pictures one can get? No.
I have a threshold.
Okay.
For puppies.
So
I have a threshold for puppies.
I gotcha. So says, I finished mopping and drying floors. Posted, 2 whole new episodes to the Bella story. That's awesome. So that's
Bella story. That's what I'm doing for Nano is my Bella story.
Awesome. Are you writing the whole thing and then gonna piecemeal it?
I'm gonna at least get like 50 episodes ahead.
Okay. Sure.
And then
it's a lot of episodes.
And I've got 85 outlined.
Okay.
And the episodes are what, 300 or 3,000 word-ish or what?
Give or take. Which basically mean a couple of chapters, which basically means a couple of scenes.
Yeah.
So I figure if I just do 3,000 words versus, like, except when I get like at those arcs where we're getting into the third act, then my word count goes down, my pace gets faster,
right.
Stuff like that.
Like
so
the climax.
Yeah, exactly. And there are 6 climaxes. So it used to be 6 books,
Right.
Used to be
Okay.
6 books. But I decided that releasing it as a Vella would allow me to do all the side stories that I wrote and my mom's storyline and my sister's storyline and kind of like,
awesome.
yeah, kind of really. And it was based off of the game that my brother ran.
Okay.
Right. So it was a family-based game.
Oh.
And
okay.
we ran it for 5 years.
Yeah.
And that is basically what I'm cataloging.
Gotcha. That makes sense. So,
And
I'm
it's
glad
been 12 years
yeah.
since we last played. So,
Okay. So you get to revisit that time and that story and all the memories that go with that. So,
and fill in gaps.
yeah.
It's the filling in the gaps that is like I have one scene planned for book 5. I have
Okay.
one scene planned for book 4.
Mhm.
But those aren't like main plot points. Those aren't like the point of the book. Like those,
Right.
I gotta come up with like an actual story for
Yeah.
books 5 and 4,
Gotcha.
so that I can outline the next like I don't know 100 pages.
Yeah. I'm curious to watch and see how, serialized on Vella is going to work out versus multiple novellas versus Patreon versus Kickstarter,
Mhm.
or does it depend on the market? Does it depend on the timing? Is it something we can even register? So,
Yeah.
something
And
I learned today,
yeah.
Barnes and Noble, they made the huge decision not to do basically any more hardcover middle grade, and there was huge outcry.
Oh.
But at the same time, apparently, from what I heard today, they are no longer having a single buyer for all Barnes and Nobles. They're either doing, they haven't said if they're doing regional or every bookstore gets to pick what they're going to be sharing, but it's not going to be 100% centralized anymore. So
Right.
I'm curious to see if that, gives more reach to a broader array of of writers. So I'm really curious to watch and see where that goes.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So popping back to the comments, Jen says, I need to finish a chapter for Bella. Too many things in so little time.
Amen to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amen to that.
And then Ward's puppy is still puppy age-wise, but is a giant. Needs to find a miniature pony's saddle for him. And she says 1 to 5K words per Vella episode is recommended. She's been releasing them every 3rd day, and then we'll be releasing the hard copies soon. Eva hasn't finished anything yet, but is excited to do a Vella project someday. So that's awesome. In MM's series, she has most written and in need of editing through book 12, but book 11 is only a 3rd finished. Oh no.
Yeah. I know the feels.
So, Andy said, is it bad with the no national buyer? All I thought is, it seems you can't get my LGBTQ plus book south of the Rappahannock River. Wonder why. I think you'll be able to get in metropolitan areas. But there are pockets of what people think of as the South in, all across the country. And there's pockets of what a lot of people think of as, the progressive coast, in most urban areas and a few outliers. So,
Yep.
So sprint.
Yep.
Okay, let's get started. Where'd the tab go? Okay, I found it.
It's right there. It needs to be reset. No.
Right. 3, 2, 1, boom.
No.
And we're back. So how was your sprint?
That good, huh?
Lots of running around, and I'm a really big fan of Ava Devereaux.
Okay.
And she has this thing called the one-page novel. And so it's really good for randomly generating your story.
Okay.
And that is kind of my hope and dream for these books 4 and 5 is to kind of randomly generate them and then insert my scene into one of those turning points.
Interesting.
Okay. That doesn't look too far off from the beat sheets I like to use.
Mm-hmm.
Having quickly Googled, I will toss it into the chat.
It's basically a beat sheet. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, Andy, thanks for joining us. Andy got 300 words. Have a great dinner.
Yay!
So, and I tossed the link of what Sako was talking about in the chat below. It's www.eadeverell.com/1-page-novel. So
Cool.
And she has a course for it too, which is kind of interesting. I'm wondering if I'm interested in her course.
Okay. Beat sheets, for those who don't know, came originally from script writing, and they're related to the pacing of the story, which is something I worry the most about. I don't know if it's because I need to or because I've decided that's the thing I'm going to fixate on, but that's what I've. So I like these because it lets me know that you can get them for a 3-act structure or 4-act structure, but you put in, how many words long your story is. And it says, the inciting incident should be by this point, the dark moment needs to be here, the climax. And it's, give or take 20, 50 pages, but it just helps you pace. And, a dark moment is going to look very different with, a steampunk adventure than it is going to be in like a literary sort of self-exploration novel. But there's usually going to be something that you need to overcome where you feel like all hope is lost. And so I find them really helpful. I think Doc and I talked about them at Preptober a couple years ago. So you can, if you just look for, beat sheets or planning on my channel, you'll find our video. I tossed Jamie, JAMI gold.com. She's got worksheets for writers, and that's where you'll find a whole bunch of different ones, like from Save the Cat and from various other sources. And I think some of them even come with Excel spreadsheets. So they'll update the page count and stuff for you.
Oh, very cool.
So
yeah, I don't really use classic beat sheets because I don't write to formula, but I will sit down and build a beat sheet for my own story in terms of what points do I want to get in what order, and kind of lay out the story.
So I wouldn't say that using a beat sheet makes your story formulaic.
Oh no, you were talking specifically about beat sheets that are already built to pre-existing formulas.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm saying they can give you notions about where you may want to paste that stuff, but it's a guideline. It's not a rule,
Yeah.
No, the beat sheet's a guideline. The formulas are guidelines, but
yeah. It's just to if you worry about your pacing, it's suggestions from time-honored traditions or whatever. But precision is never necessary. You don't have to have it precisely on page 13 and page 137 and, whatever.
Right.
So usually within a chapter or two of there is good for, keeping the reader following without exhausting them and without boring them, which is really the balance you need to really hit.
Yeah.
So M.M. Ward says, writing about a nightmare from a memory of a battle where the ground was so soaked with blood it squished up between the blades of grass as they carried the dead to be burned.
Oof.
So that's dark.
Okay. Welcome to October.
We're going into spoopy season or spooky season. Are you spoopy or spooky?
I'm spoopy.
Spoopy is the lighter hearted version.
Yes.
Hang on, spoopy, hang on. Da-da.
Oh my gosh, that is actually really fun to play in jazz band. I used to play the trumpet and I used to play jazz band, and that was one of the easier ones that they give you that is also fun. So
awesome.
Cool.
Did you hear the big news about band instruments this week about flutes?
Oh, with Lizzo?
No. I'm talking about that same day. My niece had her first band class where she tried playing a flute.
Oh, really?
So my feed was all pro band and flutes this week. So
okay.
We know what the bigger news is. Obviously, my niece and learning the flute.
Yes.
But there was some beautiful music, and I saw a couple clips. Not from my niece.
No, of course not.
She can make noise out of it. I was like, what inspires one to let a child learn the flute over another instrument? And then I thought about the other options and realized there are very few good ones.
Gotcha.
For the parents' ears during the learning process.
I was going to say, what inspires a parent to let their child learn the flute? It's like having
it's like
ear protection that is tuned to the sounds that the instrument can make.
I started contemplating the other options with the trombone and the saxophone and the oboe and the trumpet and the drums, and I realized they're all ear splitting. So
they're all ear splitting.
Can be.
Guitar too.
Yeah, and yeah, if you're gonna.
Sorry.
What you're calling? Oh. You're never living that down, you realize. But yeah, you let your child learn the drums. It's only a small matter of time before they realize that everything is a percussion instrument.
I mean, toddlers know that, but you forget at some point, and then you relearn it. You can practice anywhere, everywhere. So, M.M. Ward says, my October decorations are the usual autumn fall fare of pumpkins on the vine, marigolds, and chrysanthemums, and the cats of every color laying on the porch in the warm sunlight. That's pretty spiffy.
Hi.
So, I'm going to decorate as soon as the storm finishes passing. But hi, who do we have here? Which one is this?
This is a Gilly.
Hi, Gilly girl. Who's a pretty kitty? Is it Gilly? So,
death. No.
What did y'all get done during your sprints?
I got most of the notes for the next scene copied in. I also took a snack run because I am a snack-driven writer and I needed to power up.
And you know that this entire stream is 100% pro snacks.
Yes.
So, Sako? Oh, let's unmute. Okay.
Unmuting is a great idea. So I started the one-page thingamabobber, which, by the way,
you used a very large sheet of paper.
I use an 11 by 17 sheet of paper so I can make a booklet that is like actually handheld. as opposed to like really, really tiny.
I mean, who doesn't like writing in 6-point font and then
I
smudging
know,
it?
right? And then reading it after that.
Yeah.
That blows.
So
And I put away laundry.
Nice.
And I gotta take a shower during our next sprint.
Okay. I came up with a name for one of the future love interests. I realized I was introducing too many characters too fast and that maybe I need to slow my roll. And I am trying to figure out what the A plot is going to be. I know what the B plot is.
Okay.
But I don't she inherits her grandmother's house and it's in horrible condition, and when they go to fix things, they lose they break the hearth magic so that the things that are inherent in a house being a house go away, and so spooky things, creepy monsters can get in now.
Okay.
So and so they have to fix the house, obviously, and get it back to a state that is functional and protective. And she goes from, we start off with grandma's funeral and we end up with, her having friends and support. So that's the B plot. And I'm not really quite sure what the A plot is, other than, things keep breaking and she has to, and it costs more and more money. So then she ends up with roommates.
Yeah.
So, because if I think my main character is going to be totally not inspired by anyone I know. An adjunct professor juggling positions at multiple schools to try and make ends meet.
Indeed.
So I might need to do some research and ask some questions at some point, but I think I have.
Okay. Well, I am very sure that I happen to know quite a few people who live that life and would be happy to answer any questions you have about the lifestyle.
I know a couple adjunct professors who've had to work at multiple universities teaching remotely. Just in the past
yes,
years, so.
that's definitely going to be in there, and I do believe Sako is married to one. Although, wait, he's only at one school now, though, right?
He is finally full time, like full-time professor.
How many years?
6.
Yeah. So, and I realized while I was at the convention this weekend that I want to spread out my characters in age a little more, rather than just found family of people all the exact same age, or within 2-3 years. I think I want to spread it a little more.
Yeah.
So you get the divorcee and maybe a granny. I don't know. I'm trying to sort out exactly what the balance I want to be. Last week's blog post was on we're number 2, so we try harder. So it was all about the sidekicks and the backups and the hench folk. And
right. Yeah, I haven't watched that one yet.
Yeah. So part of what was brought up by the panelists was the gang of 5 and how those different roles balance each other. And while I might not want to follow the strict trope, I think I'm going to look into it a little more just to see if I can, because it is a balanced team and I do want to get to a balanced team, but that means I need to balance the characters and their personalities and stuff like that. And I need to get better at writing mean people. I'm not good at mean.
Mean people are super fun to write.
Mm-hmm. Because they say the things that you wish you could say, but you're too polite to say. So, no.
Right. So somebody's all wound up. But says a plot has to get roommates, but how do you tell them your family has a history of witchy things and one tries to take advantage? It ends with dosing the bad roommate with a forgetting potion. divorcee with a gambling addiction, then tries to use her magic to change her luck, aka make her win all the time. No, that's always a bad idea, honey. So, Blinker Bell, I'm happy to have people on Twitch. In fact, this month, next month, I might push for a Twitch preference just so I can get affiliate because I finally have enough followers.
Oh, cool.
I just need more views over there, but since everybody watches on YouTube, I'm not. So.
Wait.
So yes, thank you for watching from over there. I appreciate it. So I need to get my average number of viewers on there to like 3 or 5 since everybody's over on YouTube. So
yeah.
So are you going to have one of the roommates be an older person who wanted to have a chance to live in the house because they heard it was haunted and they're an author writing a book about haunted houses?
The house is not yet haunted, and I don't know if I want straight up ghosts. So I'm
if you've got evil spirits held at bay, it's got a rep. Because sometime in the past, stuff happened.
No. In my world, in my setting, that looks like Manassas, but is not. Or it's an alternate Manassas. In this alternate Manassas, all homes inherently have a hearthcraft is what we've got. And once a home is officially a home, it does that. That's just part of what makes a house a home. And, you know, when you remodel, a lot of times people aren't living there, so it doesn't matter as much. But yeah, I really liked my idea of when you see the creatures by firelight, they can't pretend they're not who they are. But when you see them by electrical light, they look normal.
Okay.
Because, you know, maybe that explains why you see things in the dark and in the woods and back in the day, but we don't see them as much anymore because there's so much electrical light. So,
well, there are still a lot of ghost stories around Manassas and that whole area. So,
oh yeah, I have ample.
Yeah. So having an author using the room as home base while they work on their book still works.
It does. I might do a spinoff with that, but I think the author insert is maybe a little cheesy.
Okay.
But then again, I haven't decided what my main character is teaching. Is it history? Is it? I think history is too simple. And of course, you know, there's the self-insert. Maybe it's computer science because at least I can talk to that. Maybe it's English, you know, I don't know. So I need to figure out what she's teaching.
Oh, I just love the idea of a witty person who also happens to be like a high-level physicist. But
she could be physics or math or I mean, biology's been done before, but it's still fun. So,
but it's just that juxtaposition between the old world knowledge and the new world science, and it's like, no, but they work together. Shut up.
Yeah. So, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to find her friends in the other departments. I need so many names, and the struggle with putting. And I also attended some panels on writing, you know, in a post-pandemic world of, do you include the pandemic happened or do you pretend it never happened? Are people masking or not? That kind of thing. So I think I'm doing a near future where some people will wear masks, some people won't. And, you know, it's cold and flu and COVID season, you know?
Right.
But, you know, then you get into, if you decide a character wears masks, that makes a political statement. But I think ignoring it makes it dated or wishful thinking that it'll go away, you know?
Yeah.
So I asked some questions. I was like, go. You can go if you need to.
Okay.
So, but the other question I was asking the panelists is, how dated is that going to make it? And they're like, no matter when you set it, the signifiers are going to be there, the smartphones or not using the smartphones, the cell phones so it's going to be set to somewhere within a decade anyway, for the most part. So you might as well lean into it.
I don't know. I guess one interesting take could be to set it like 10 years in the future, where it's near enough that it's like, yeah, this is a thing that had happened, but technology hasn't moved ahead far enough or fast enough to make significant changes.
Yeah.
But there's still like echoes of,
Yeah.
things.
So suggests they can only come in if you invite them because of the hearth charm, but tearing out the clay tile with the enchantment while tearing out the fireplace means that the do not enter sign is gone. I don't know if that's suggestions or a story that you're working on. I think it's just when I don't want it to be a single token. I want it to be a construction, and when you have all the places in synchronicity, the soul of the house is healthier, and maybe even when it's super healthy and feels safe, it will manifest as someone you can chat with and have coffee. So
that the house has its own grandma spirit.
Right. Says if she's a sciencey teacher, then she doesn't necessarily believe in all that spooky spirit stuff. I think I'm going to have in this world that hearthcraft is normal and known about, and people, but most people think it's a superstition, but everybody does it. Just it's one of those things.
It's a harmless superstition and kitschy decor.
Right, exactly. So I'm trying to figure out where I want to thread that line, but I've never done something adult and contemporary that's with kids stuff. You can avoid a lot of the technological flags.
That's okay. I just had a thought in terms of, okay, if hearthcraft works, but there are different traditions.
Oh yes. Oh yeah.
Methods according to what tradition.
Yeah.
If you bring in a contractor who's studied the wrong traditions, they can break your stuff without you realizing.
I mean, she's trying to figure it out from YouTube, and then she goes to get a tattoo in honor of her grandma, and the tattooist and her partner are looking for a place to live, and the partner is actually a handyman that is has a huge YouTube following, and she kind of squee fangirls, and so those two move in to help put the place together, but they're not plumbers, so we gotta when the whole flooding incident happens, that's when she really needs the roommates to pay for yet another thing that has gone wrong with the house. So I feel like it's a very contemporary thing, getting a house that's falling apart and not being able to pay for, live on your own and needing roommates and stuff like that. In earlier eras, by the time you're 30, everything is set. But these days it can go on a lot longer. And and we're going to have like the government contractor roommates who's like a divorcee or something like that, and talking about the commuting. And so but part of it is I really want to show the transition from that rural environment 20-30 years ago to the suburban environment. So what sort of rituals and things like that are being forgotten and upended, and what sort of spirits from more urban areas are moving out, and what sort of rural things no longer have what was feeding them, etc., etc. And I had a really fun thought about maybe the reason we see so many people with colored hair is because they stopped hiding it because it's now trendy, but they're actually like plant spirits, like dryady sort of people. So I don't know.
I was, you just, for a second there, it's like, okay, it's the suburbs. Your spirits are commuting. You have urban spirits coming out. You have the nature spirits trying to come in, but they can't live in the green spaces in town, so they have to come back to the suburbs.
Oh, what is more suburban than that?
Exactly, commuters.
When the spirits and the cryptids have to carpool.
Welcome to Cryptid Carpool.
Yeah.
Oh God, it can be a podcast.
A
popular podcast.
Oh my gosh. Popping into the comments, struggles not to add pandemic protocols to her contemporary stuff. If the area is very rural, cell coverage, yes. My boyfriend has satellites internet, and it is not reliable, and the phone goes out quite often. So they can go in a drawer or be the paperweight that's left in the mail. Is not working on anything except gargoyle shifters, like sprinkling cornmeal in the mortar between stones and bricks when building a home on the res. Yeah. I'm also looking into different cultural expectations when someone is a stranger, like the whole salts and water or whatever thing. And I know that there is different ones in different places, or breaking bread together, that sort of thing. So I just want to know what ones are out there so I can totally adapt and steal without leaning on one necessarily culture that then gives us that very culture branding.
So this house was the person's grandmother's house or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay. So obviously grandmother and that line of the family followed a particular tradition for maintaining the hearth.
Yeah.
And this person who's inheriting it doesn't necessarily know the rules or forgotten some of them.
I mean, she only saw her grandma on occasion. And when she stayed with grandma, she followed grandma's rules, but whatever, roll your eyes. Yep. And about 3 years ago, grandma got sick, and about 6 months ago, grandma went into a nursing home. So the house has been slowly deteriorating.
But there's a difference between following the rules and knowing why they work.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're in a world which has different traditions, and then you're having this person bring in roommates in the house, basically building a new household.
Yeah. No,
the question is: are they reestablishing the hearth by reaffirming the old tradition, or are they building a new household altogether?
I haven't decided how the tradition works, so
I'm offering you fodder.
Right. So says, or the YouTuber just does whatever project, in this case she actually feels like for her fandom, and comes home to find the fireplace in pieces in the front yard. No. Conflict could be that the YouTubers, like those house flippers that ruin houses with unrealistic design choices. Oh, like the time Hildy put hay on or straw on the walls, or glued a billion fabric flowers to the walls of a bathroom that's going to collect moisture. Or the moss room. Hildy should never have been allowed to use alternative building materials.
There is a set of Zillow Gone Wild pictures that has been floating around on Facebook of this house where the previous owner was an artist. And they basically decorated. House looks perfectly normal on the outside. You go inside and every room is an art project that involves lots of shelves made out of styrofoam, and basically hot glue and paint. And it's like, Okay, why did you ever think this was a good
Oh,
business?
is that the thing where everything looks like faux trees?
Yes. Yes. It's like, oh dear.
Yeah. I think the only other thing with setting it in the near future is that I know people with all the common names that were born in those years, so picking names that aren't that are common enough, but also not people I actually know.
Hmm.
So yeah. And do I do YouTube or TikTok, or do I just make up something that clearly stands in for a video filmy thing?
Hmm.
Probably video filmy thing.
Stream life.
Right, exactly. So yeah. I I keep wanting all the conflict to be external, and I know it doesn't need to be, and I want people to like each other, and I very often have to go back in and filter in extra layers of conflict because I want to get to the end point, and then I can build in the tensions with the other things. But if I worry too much about the interpersonal relationships on the way, it distracts me from where the plot is going. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess I tend to look I all my characters have their own particular quirks,
Right.
and those add complications along the way. So
Yeah.
uh, um
Yeah. I'm
that-
working on who has which personality trait and which one's conflict avoidant, which one's more likely to storm off, which one's more likely to slam all the cabinets in the kitchen.
mhm.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Hildy not understanding that I hate brown from the homeowner means all browns, including espresso and chocolate. Those are the most common browns. Why would that not be obvious? Sorry. We're working through some trading spaces trauma.
Okay.
Clearly you never binged it over the holidays.
Um I have seen some trading
Spaces
spaces in the
episodes.
past, but
Mhm.
nothing that bad. So
As long as you don't watch Hildy, it was,
yeah,
it
I
was
don't know.
a little cheap, but oh, the train room.
Hmm.
That was one of the few times someone other than Hildy kind of leaned into a theme a little hard.
Oh, kind of like the wine label kitchen in the home of the people that don't drink. Uh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's bad.
So, oh my gosh, it's 6:30.
Yep.
We did what, 3 sprints?
No, we did 2 sprints.
2?
Yeah. Yep. And we talked about HVACs, and we talked about
As I said, I am coming off of going to bed at 4 AM
yeah.
and finishing up a convention and driving home.
Oh no,
So,
I think all of this has been like good fodder for your story, where you're
yeah,
basically having your character rebuild the house piece by piece.
exactly. So, it's Preptober. Thank you all for helping me brainstorm because that's what I'm doing this month. So, having some people to bounce it off of so I can completely ignore you and go in a totally different direction has been super helpful.
So are you going to actually have a cryptid become one of the roommates and have everyone discover that in the course?
Yes, but I haven't figured out which one yet.
Okay.
So, says I write conflict first and nice stuff after. Yeah, I keep making it too easy for my characters and then having to go back and make it harder for them because I want good things for them and I need to be meaner in my writing. So I'm working on it. So, but
Yeah.
I also early on found out that adding conflict made my story longer than it should have been. It was over 130,000 words. So I think that also scared me off from adding too much conflict because I write long. So,
Well, you
uh,
can always go back and remove conflict after it's in there. So
right. True. Yeah, it's just tricky to pull it out because hopefully it's set up properly. So, and
Mm.
MM agrees. Hildy was the worst. we have ranted on this before. So
yeah, it
so
definitely sounds like it.
tell people where to find you and what you've been doing this week and all that fun stuff.
Well, let's see. I am Doc Coleman. I write steampunk comedy adventure. If you're interested in some steampunk that doesn't take itself seriously, or if you just like me from seeing me on the video and want to find out more about my books, you can search in your favorite search engine for Doc Coleman Steampunk, and that will help you find my Amazon author page. It will also help you find my website at doccoleman.com. On Amazon, you can look at previews of my works and decide if they're the right book for you or someone you love. And let's see, this coming week, I'm hopefully working on getting ready for edits. So still got a lot of notes to transcribe into my my manuscript, because that's part of my editing process. But
awesome.
That's it.
So Sako is also known as Voit, and if you are on YouTube, you can find her links below. Otherwise, you can just Google her, and she is out there, and she is awesome, and she is what is her thing? She's an artist, a writer, and a witch, and sometimes she puts them all together. So, and thank you for helping me brainstorm. Thank you for helping me workshop. # procrastination. Procrastivity is I call it productive procrastination, but that's awesome. So thank you all for coming. This week, if you missed it, I was talking about we're number 2, so we try harder, backups, sidekicks, and hingefolk. Why we love sidekicks, all sorts of them, how to write them, and how to use them to foil your main character. Wow. And I was talking about authors and social media, friends or foe, over on the podcast, Writing Tips for Writerly Musings. And this week's author spotlight guest was Laura M. Drake, an active and adventurous writer of fantasy. And I was obviously at Capclave, and I got to talk about toxic productivity, grammar wars, and pedantry. I was told I was saying it wrong.
How to pronounce pedantry.
Right. Promoting your writing and what's in a name. So they were tons of fun. And Monday, I will be doing another query helpline with Patrick Hopkins, rewriting other people's queries, first pages, and synopses. So if you want to take a fresh look, please check us out. DM us if you want in. But do know that it is a fundraiser for reproductive rights, because just because it's been a week or two doesn't mean that Roe versus Wade was not overturned. And my governor is trying to do horrific things. So please help and support. Just send us a receipt showing that you donated to any of your local or national organizations that help protect those rights. So thank you all for coming. I'll be back with more Preptober next week. Maybe before then, I might, but now I might take a nap or play with my cat. We'll see. So have a great week. Have an enjoyable October, and see you soon. Bye.